She trusted her. That was her first mistake. Mother's Day is supposed to feel like something. Flowers, a phone call, maybe breakfast, if you're lucky. For Patricia Hayes, Mother's Day. 2023 felt like the day the ground disappeared under her feet, not because of what someone said, because of what she found out her son didn't know. What happened next would take months to unravel, and what Patricia Hayes found at the end of that unraveling was worse than anything she had imagined. Patricia Ann Hayes had lived in the same house in Beaumont, Texas, for 31 years. She and her husband, Gerald, had bought it young, before the money, before the promotions, before life got complicated. Gerald always said the roses were Patricia's real language, that you could read her mood by how she tended them. When things were good, they bloomed full. When things were hard, she pruned harder. Gerald Hayes passed away 2.5 years ago. Prostate cancer, diagnosed late, gone in 11 months. Patricia had been a registered nurse for 27 years. She understood the medical reality better than most. That didn't make it hurt any less. David Hayes, Patricia's only child, had done well for himself. At 38, he ran a mid-sized logistics company in Houston with 47 employees. He was the kind of son who called every Sunday, who remembered her birthday, who meant every word he said. He also trusted his wife completely. That trust would cost his mother everything. Clara Reeves Hayes. Patricia had known her for 6 years. She was polished, articulate, the kind of woman who remembered how you took your coffee and asked about the names of your grandchildren, even if you didn't have any yet. She was also the company's financial operations manager, which meant she controlled the accounts, all of them. After Gerald's death, David set up a monthly transfer of $5,000 to support his mother. He was clear about it, specific. He sat across from Clara at their kitchen table and told her exactly what he wanted. Patricia had given up nursing when Gerald got sick. She had no income. The house was paid off, but everything else, groceries, utilities, medication, the small dignities of daily life, had to come from somewhere. David wasn't going to let his mother struggle, or so he thought. What David didn't know, what he couldn't have known, was that Clara had set up a second account. Not in Clara's name, in Patricia's. Forged documentation, a copied signature from an old insurance form. And every month, when David's $5,000 left his account, it arrived somewhere Patricia had never seen and would never touch. For 8 months, Patricia Hayes lived on next to nothing. She told no one how bad it was. Not her friends from church, not her neighbor Dorothy, who brought casseroles twice a week and never asked why. Not David. Patricia was 65 years old, and she was not going to be a burden. That was simply not negotiable. The Grace Community Church of Beaumont ran a senior aid program. Patricia began quietly accepting help in October. She told the program coordinator, Sister Yvette, that it was temporary, just until she sorted some things out. Sister Yvette had been running that program for 19 years. She'd heard that before. She gave Patricia groceries and said nothing that would embarrass her.
It was a credit card statement that started it. Not for Patricia's card. She hadn't had a credit card in 2 years. It was a statement addressed to her from a bank she'd never used, showing transactions she didn't recognize. A hotel in San Antonio, a spa in the Galleria, a department store in Houston, a car payment she'd never authorized. Patricia read it twice. Then she called the bank. The notarized signature. Patricia had notarized a document 2 years earlier when Gerald was in hospice. An insurance beneficiary form. Clara had handled all the paperwork. She had been in the room. Patricia didn't accuse anyone. Not yet. She was a nurse for 27 years. She knew the difference between a symptom and a diagnosis. You needed more data. So she started collecting it. Clara visited twice a month, usually on Thursdays. She was always bringing something. Groceries, a magazine, a small plant for the windowsill. Patricia had always seen this as kindness. Now she saw it differently. Clara was managing access, controlling the narrative, staying close enough to monitor. By November, Patricia had 6 weeks of entries in the notebook. She had also, quietly and without telling anyone, contacted a consumer protection attorney named Marcus Webb. He specialized in elder financial exploitation. His first words to her were, "Tell me everything, and don't leave anything out because it sounds small." Patricia did not find him warm. She found him useful.
Marcus Webb had seen a lot in his 17 years of elder law. What Patricia put on his desk made him sit forward. Marcus and his investigative associate spent 3 weeks pulling records. What they found was not one account. It was a pattern. Over the 26 months since Gerald's death, Clara had intercepted a total of $130,000, $5,000 a month, every month, without a single missed transfer. And she had spent it with extraordinary specificity. $130,000. Every cent of it moved through an account in Patricia Hayes's name, which meant, on paper, Patricia had been living lavishly, which meant, if this ever became a legal matter, there was a ready-made defense, that Patricia had access to and spent this money herself. Clara had thought of everything. There was one more layer, one that nobody had anticipated. Clara had not only been stealing from Patricia.
She had also been using David's company credit cards for personal expenses, disguised as vendor payments, software subscriptions, office supply orders, embedded in enough legitimate transactions to avoid triggering any automatic alerts. The company's own accountant, a man named Bennett Cole, had flagged 3 anomalies in the past year, but had been reassigned to a different reporting structure before he could investigate further. Bennett Cole had not forgotten those anomalies. He had written them down. And when Patricia's attorney reached out to him quietly, in confidence, in December, he answered his phone on the first ring.
Patricia Hayes had spent 27 years as a nurse. She had triaged trauma. She had read the charts no one else wanted to read. She had sat with patients at 3 a.m. and told them the truth when the truth was the only thing left to offer. She approached this the same way, methodically, without panic, one piece at a time. The notebook had become something extraordinary, not just dates and observations, though those were there, but a record of Clara's patterns, her rhythms, her tells. Patricia had noticed that Clara always became slightly more attentive, more calls, more visits, more small gifts, in the weeks after each monthly transfer. She was, in Patricia's words, tending the relationship the way a gardener tends a plant they intend to harvest. Bennett Cole was 52 years old and had worked for David's company for 9 years. He was the kind of accountant who took his job as a moral exercise, not just a mathematical one. When he'd been shuffled away from the accounts he'd flagged, something in him hadn't settled right about it. Bennett provided 3 years of company financial records. He had already quietly annotated the anomalies. 17 separate instances where Clara's expense submissions didn't align with vendor confirmations. He had been keeping his own file, just in case. By late January, they had everything. $130,000 in stolen support funds. Approximately $44,000 in fraudulent company expenses. Forged account documentation. A pattern of deliberate concealment. Now Patricia had to decide how to use it. Patricia had thought carefully about how this ended. Not just legally, emotionally. David was her son. She loved him completely. And she knew that what was coming was going to shatter something in him that she wasn't sure could be fully repaired. She thought about that for a long time. The plan was simple in its architecture. Patricia would invite David and Clara to dinner. She would frame it as a family reconciliation. She told David she wanted to clear the air about some financial confusion. Vague enough that Clara wouldn't be alarmed. Specific enough that David would feel it was important to attend. Clara, Patricia knew, would come. She always came when she could manage the narrative. Marcus Webb would not be at the dinner. That had been deliberate. Patricia didn't want it to look like an ambush from the outside. She wanted it to look like a mother who had done her homework, because that's exactly what it was. She didn't call David. She called Sister Yvette at the church.
They arrived at 6:30. Clara brought wine. Patricia poured it. She served dinner. She was warm and unhurried. She was also watching. Clara was relaxed. Patricia could see it. The particular quality of ease that comes when someone believes they are in control of the room. She let it go on for a while. Then she cleared the plates and set down the folders. The folder contained the following: the fraudulent bank account documentation, Patricia's forged signature beside a copy of her actual notarized signature from the insurance form, 26 months of transfer records showing every $5,000 landing in the ghost account, a summary of expenditures, the car, the spa, the travel, the clothing, Bennett's annotated company expense records, and a one-page letter handwritten by Patricia addressed to her son. Patricia did not fill the silence. She had learned something in 27 years of nursing about silence. It was not emptiness. It was the space where truth had room to land. Clara Hayes did not confess at the dinner table. She hired an attorney by the following morning. And the case that Patricia and Marcus Webb had built over 3 months now entered a different arena. Patricia testified for 2 hours. She walked the court through the bank records with the precision of someone presenting a medical case. She identified the signature discrepancy. She itemized 26 months of diverted funds. She presented the notebook, all 94 days of it. Bennett Cole testified for 3 hours.
Confirm the
He was
transaction.
methodical,
The records show
unshakable.
the transfer occurred on
17
that date.
anomalies,
Your Honor, these
each one
documents
explained,
confirm the transaction.
each one
The records
documented.
show the transfer
David
occurred on
Hayes
that
testified
date.
last.
I have
He
to
was
testify
brief.
against
He
my
confirmed
wife.
the transfer arrangement.
She committed fraud.
He confirmed he had never discussed an alternative account with Clara. He did not look at his wife while he testified. The verdict came 11 days later. Restitution judgment, $174,000. The full amount of stolen support funds plus the company account fraud. A 5-year prohibition on Clara Hayes managing any financial account connected to David Hayes or his business. And a referral to the district attorney for criminal fraud charges, separate proceedings, not subject to the civil agreement. The judgment was a beginning, not an ending. The money, some of it, would come back. Other things would take longer. They were rebuilding, not to the version that existed before. That version had Clara in it. That version had a certain kind of innocence in it. They were building something new, sturdier, truer, harder won.
Patricia Hayes didn't spend the year after the verdict resting. She spent it building something. In its first year, the Grace Hands Foundation served 63 seniors across southeast Texas. 18 of those cases resulted in formal legal proceedings. 14 resulted in financial recovery. All 63 resulted in something harder to measure, but no less real: the knowledge that someone had seen them, and believed them, and stayed. 14 months after the verdict, Patricia Hayes received a call from the Texas Women's Leadership Foundation. She had been nominated for the Texas Woman of the Year Award by 43 different nominators: attorneys, church members, foundation clients, and 2 nurses from her former hospital unit who had heard what she'd done and hadn't been surprised at all. She had asked David to be her guest. He had said yes before she finished the sentence.
Thank you so much. We're
Patricia
so proud.
Hayes
Come
continues
here.
to run the
Group
Grace Hands
hug.
Foundation from Beaumont, Texas. In its second year, the foundation expanded to serve seniors in 3 additional counties. She also returned to part-time nursing consulting, not because she needed to, but because, in her words, the hospital asked nicely, and I've never been good at staying still. David Hayes restructured his company's financial oversight systems in the months following the verdict. He promoted Bennett Cole to Chief Financial Officer. He calls his mother every Sunday without fail, and every Mother's Day he comes to Beaumont and helps her prune the roses. Clara Hayes's criminal fraud case remained in proceedings at the time this story was completed. She declined multiple requests to speak on the record. Bennett Cole says the company's books have never been cleaner. He keeps a copy of Patricia's notebook entry from the first day, the day she wrote the date and started writing things down, framed above his desk. He says it reminds him that the most powerful financial instrument in the world is a person who refuses to stop paying attention. The garden always knows when the tending has been good, when the roots have held, when the season, finally deservedly, has turned. $174,000, 26 months, a forged signature, a ghost account, a woman who was supposed to be too old and too alone to notice. Patricia Hayes noticed, and then she did something about it. If this story stayed with you, if it made you think of someone you love, someone who might need to hear it, share it, right now, before you scroll. Because financial exploitation of seniors is happening every single day, in quiet houses, in families that look fine from the outside, and the most powerful thing we can do is make sure people know. It can happen, it can be stopped, and it is never too late. This is Late and Undefeated, and we're just getting started.